Nobody talks about this. Family estrangement is one of the most common and least discussed experiences in adult life. Studies suggest that as many as 1 in 4 people are estranged from at least one family member. 1 in 4! And yet, when it happens, the person who walked away is almost always treated as the one who did something wrong. Psychologists call one of the key reasons normalization, the process by which harmful dynamics become invisible, simply because they've always been there. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how it works. This video is for them. You didn't stop loving them, you stopped surviving them. There's a version of this story most people never hear. Not the one about the person who gave up on family. Not the dramatic one. Not the selfish one. The version where no contact wasn't a decision made in anger. It was a decision made in exhaustion. After years, after trying, after shrinking yourself down to make the relationship work. This is that version. Going no contact is almost never the first thing someone tries. It's usually the last. Here's what nobody outside this experience understands. By the time someone walks away, they've usually already tried almost everything else. Conversations that went nowhere, boundaries that were ignored, apologies that were demanded but never returned. Think about what that looks like in practice. You sit in the car outside before you go in. You rehearse what not to say. You check your face in the mirror to make sure it's neutral enough. You put on a version of yourself that can get through the next few hours without incident. You leave feeling worse than when you arrived. And you do it again next time. Because they're family. That's not love failing. That's someone trying everything they know before accepting that trying isn't enough. This is the psychology behind why people eventually go no contact with family. There's something that happens in families where the dynamic is harmful that makes the decision feel almost impossible to reach. Psychologists call it normalization. When you grow up inside a dynamic, when the way your family operates has been the only version of family you've ever known, it becomes very difficult to see it clearly. What's normal to you may not be normal at all. Some people only realize this when they visit a friend's family for the first time and notice how different it feels to sit at a table where nobody is waiting to criticize, where you don't have to brace yourself before walking through the door. The criticism that arrived with every visit, the guilt that came with every boundary, the feeling that you had to earn your place in a room you were born into. These things don't always register as harm because they've been present for so long. They feel like the texture of the relationship, just the way things are. And here's the direct line between that childhood and the adult who eventually walks away. When you grow up learning that love comes with conditions, that your place in the family has to be constantly maintained, that the wrong word or the wrong mood could shift the atmosphere of an entire room. Your nervous system learns to stay on alert. Every visit becomes a performance review. Every conversation, a test you might fail. Every silence, something to be read and managed. That's not a personality flaw. That's what the environment taught you, and it runs long after you've left the house. But here's the part most people never talk about. It's not the decision, it's the grief. Because going no contact doesn't end the longing. It doesn't stop the moments. A birthday, a quiet Sunday afternoon, when you feel the absence of the family you needed rather than the one you had. Picture someone setting a place at the table that nobody ever came to sit at. Not because the chair wasn't there, but because the person who should have sat in it never quite arrived. That's what this grief is. You're not mourning the relationship you had. You're mourning the relationship you always wanted and never got. Psychologists call this ambiguous loss, grieving something that never had a clean ending, something the world doesn't have a funeral for. That is a particular kind of pain, one that other people don't always understand, one that can sit with you quietly for years. And it doesn't protect you from the outside either, from relatives who don't understand, from being cast as the one who abandoned the family, when what you actually did was protect yourself. Here's the paradox at the center of this experience. The people most likely to go no contact are often the ones who loved their family most, not the ones who didn't care. The ones who cared so much, they spent years trying to make something work that was costing them everything. You don't grieve something that didn't matter. The depth of the loss is proportional to the depth of the love. That's what makes this decision so heavy and so misunderstood by the people who never had to make it. For many people, going no contact wasn't about anger. It was about survival. And what comes after is not emptiness. Some people describe it like this. They go to a friend's house for dinner and stay too long because they don't want to leave. Not because of anything dramatic, just because nobody said anything that made them flinch. That's what the beginning of something different feels like. Not a revelation, just a meal where you didn't have to protect yourself. People who go no contact don't stop missing what they had. They stop pretending it was something it wasn't. And somewhere in that decision, the one that took years to make, the one nobody outside fully understands, the one that cost more than they're ever given credit for, something quietly starts to happen. They stop waiting for the family they never had, and they start building a life they actually get to live in. That's not giving up. That's finally knowing the difference between love that holds you and love that costs you everything just to receive it. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop hoping someone will become who they never were. If this is your story, or someone you know, share this video. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is help someone feel less alone in a decision the world rarely understands.